Hello, everyone. I'm Isaac Wang from the University of Florida, here to present our paper titled, Wow, You Are Terrible at This, an intercultural study on virtual agents giving mixed feedback. And this work was done in collaboration with researchers from Offenburg University in Germany. So we frequently see virtual agents used for pedagogical scenarios, such as training users by demonstrating and explaining tasks, or simulating an interview as a coach. In these scenarios, agents often provide feedback to users to help guide and motivate them towards accomplishing their goals. We know that people process and respond to feedback, which can impact their tasks and learning outcomes. Prior work by Mum and Mutlu showed that feedback from an agent in the form of praise, as well as comparing performance against others, can help motivate users to improve their skills. However, other work has also shown that the effectiveness and perceptions of an agent are affected by factors of its appearance, such as the agent's realism, gender, and ethnicity. But what about non-human agents, such as the robot shown on the right? Would varying the human likeness of an agent also affect how people perceive the agent? Would feedback be treated differently with the mouse or even robot, as one is living but non-human and the other is a machine? And would other factors, such as the user's cultural background, also play a role in how feedback is received? While researchers have explored the cultural acceptance of agents based on their appearance and mannerisms and how they align with the user's culture, it's unclear how users from different cultural backgrounds would respond towards feedback such as encouragement and criticism. Thus, we wanted to study how agent human likeness and user cultural background can affect perceptions of an agent and its feedback. So to do so, we had users play a Find the Hidden Object game while interacting with a little virtual agent that would accompany them and give hints and feedback along the way. This was based on our prior work, which simulates completing a task with a virtual assistant that would provide hints. We had a monitor that displayed the agent and a separate touchscreen that had the game on it, which users interacted with. For the game, users had 1 minute in each level to find a star, which was covered by a lot of different shapes. And what they would need to do is to touch and drag the shapes away in order to find the star, and then tap on it to continue. During each level, users could ask the agent for hints on where to find the star. For instance, what color object the star was under, or if the star was near the top or the bottom of the screen. For our study, we had 10 levels of increasing difficulty, each with increasing numbers of shapes, which we kept the levels the same for all participants. At the end of each level, the agent would deliver feedback to the user based on how many levels they won or lost in a row. And in order to ensure that participants saw all degrees of feedback, we designed some of the levels to be impossible so that users would be forced to lose multiple times in a row. So in terms of feedback, we had both positive and negative feedback, which would get more intense as the participant completed multiple levels. So for example, after winning a level, the agent would respond,
"You did it!"
After winning 2 in a row,
"You found that pretty quickly."
and then after 3 wins.
"Wow, you are really good at this."
Conversely, when the participant lost, the agent would deliver criticism, which also got stronger as they lost more levels. So after failing to find the star 1 time, the agent would respond with,
"Time's up.
after losing twice,
You really took a long time."
and after 3 times.
"Wow, you are terrible at this."
Hence the title of our paper. So we designed our agent feedback to solely encourage or criticize the user's performance in order to elicit an affective response from participants. And when you put everything together, it looks something like this.
"Hi there. Ready to go? Let's start." It's under a diamond.
And then
did
for
it!
some of the more difficult levels,
It's near the left. Wow, you are terrible at this.
all right. So for our user study, we had a between subjects design with 3 different agent appearances: a human agent, a non-human mouse agent, and a robot, which was both non-human and non-organic. We conducted the study at 2 locations: the University of Florida in the US and Offenburg University in Germany. And we recruited 20 adults per agent per location, resulting in 120 participants total. At the end of each study session, we had participants fill out a questionnaire, which consisted of the agent rating questionnaire from our prior work, which was derived from existing virtual agent questionnaires, and it asked questions about the participants' perception of the agent on questions such as likability or the trustworthiness of the agent. We also had participants fill out the NASA TLX survey to measure how demanding the task was on scales of mental, physical demand, and other similar dimensions. And we also had them fill out the IPNAS SF scale, which asked them about their effective reactions to the agent's feedback based on different terms such as alert and inspired for positive affect, or nervous and upset for negative affect. And we analyzed the responses from our questionnaire to see if agent appearance or study location had any effect on any of these metrics. For agent appearance, we looked at the ratings from the agent ratings questionnaire, which showed that the perceptions of the agent were mostly the same. And our statistical analysis backed this up, showing that there was no significant effect of agent appearance on any of the perception ratings. So the human likeness of the agent did not impact how participants felt about the agent. However, for the results from the PNAF scale and responses to encouragement, we did see that participants had stronger negative reactions to the agent's encouragement for the human agent compared to the robot one. But we didn't see any other effects of agent on any of the other metrics for positive affect or the other metrics in our questionnaire. But when we analyzed the results comparing the 2 study locations, we did see differences in how participants from both places rated the task load. First of all, the overall weighted TLX score showed that participants from the US reported a small but significantly greater task load than participants from Germany. When looking at the individual raw scales, we saw that participants from the US had higher levels of physical demand, while on the other hand, participants from Germany had higher mental demand. When we compared the responses to the PNAS, we saw that participants had a large positive response to the agent's encouragement based on these 5 terms on the left, and we would expect this. When comparing these responses based on study location, we found no difference in positive affective responses. However, for negative affect, and looking at the individual terms there, participants from Germany rated feeling slightly more negatively towards encouragement, with significantly higher ratings for feeling nervous and upset than US participants. For the agent's criticism, we saw a mix of both positive and negative affective responses. Again, looking at the individual terms, we saw that participants from the US had rated feeling more attentive and determined as a result of the agent's criticism. On the other hand, participants from Germany rated feeling more inspired by the agent's criticism, revealing a difference in how participants from the 2 locations reacted positively. For negative affect, participants from Germany rated feeling significantly more nervous, but we didn't see any other difference in the other terms here. So based on our findings, we can draw conclusions about how both agent appearance and user culture affect perceptions of an agent and its feedback. In terms of agent appearance and human likeness, we saw limited effect on reactions to feedback and no effect at all on perceptions of the agent. While we did see that the human had more negative reactions when compared against the robot, this was only for encouragement, so our findings were not as expected. We could think of 2 main reasons why this may have been the case. One is that the time-sensitive nature of the task and the placement of the agent on the secondary screen may have relegated it to more of an assistant role, meaning the effects were weaker than if the agent was the center of focus. In addition, we controlled the appearance of the agents so that they shared an anthropomorphic figure, as shown here, to avoid any major differences in design that would skew our results. However, more unique or distinct appearances, such as these examples here, may have solidified their non-human forms more and evoked a stronger reaction. So while we didn't see appearance play a large role in perceptions of the agent, user culture and cultural background definitely did. We saw differences between the responses for the two locations for both task load and effective reactions to agent feedback. And to help us understand our results, we compared them to established cultural models, specifically Hofstede's model of cultural dimensions, which is commonly used by researchers to understand different cultural attitudes. And this model classifies nations along the 6 dimensions shown here, identifying differences between the general attitudes and values for each nation. According to the model, people from the US should have been more likely to remember positive emotions. They would also tended to externalize personal performance more and express those feelings towards others. We would have also seen that people from Germany would attribute success and failure more towards personal effort rather than chance or luck. Thus, based on these points, we would have expected in our study to see that US participants would have stronger effective reactions to the agent's feedback, and thus feel more positive towards encouragement and more negative towards criticism. We would also expect to see higher ratings of physical and mental demand from participants in Germany based on their levels of personal effort. But as our results showed, we either saw no effect, or rather the opposite effect, when looking at how participants responded to feedback. And rather, we treat this as seeing that effective responses to feedback are really complex, and these general models may not be enough to really explain the behaviors that are going on. While these models may be useful for understanding general values and attitudes among cultures, we really should be relying on more user-centered and data-driven approaches. We showed that feedback is accepted differently based on a user's cultural background. So while an agent may be effective in one culture, it may not apply directly to others. For instance, some may need more direct or straightforward feedback to achieve a positive result, while other cultures may be suited to more of an indirect motivational style, and thus user testing and iterative approaches would definitely be needed. Thus, in conclusion, we found that agent appearance and human likeness did not significantly impact how participants rated the agent or its feedback. We also showed that users' cultural background can influence how they perceive and respond to an agent's motivational feedback. And ultimately, we would need to do more research to understand how to tailor feedback to users based on their cultural background. We'd also need to look at how different tasks and agent designs can also impact how agent feedback is perceived. And we hope that doing so will help us create motivational agents that are more effective and acceptable across cultures. With that, I'd like to give special thanks to my co-authors, and thank you all for listening.